Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Manmouth. Had a great show prior to this with a pundit's pundit, and I'll let Jacob get to the highlighting it in just a moment. But joining me tonight, JB Ellis. We've been busy today, haven't we, in the boxing world, right, JB?
Listen, sports is all over the place. We got to go where the action is.
We sure do. And the man has been busy with me all week is smoking Jeremy B, and I'll be smoking a little bit in a lot of ways today.
Oh boy.
Is that the best answer you could give me? Oh my goodness!
I've been on fire all week. I don't know what you're talking about. If you ain't been smoking or your hat ain't been on fire yet, I don't know what I got to do.
Well, don't get me on the smoking part because I'll make mention of that a little bit later in ways that we all want to know about. All right. All right. Yeah. And also Jacob Christner.
Right.
Well, Jacob, why don't you give everybody a quick overview of pundit before we get going here?
Oh, we had a great show. We were talking about the Kentucky Derby, the horses that died, 4 of them that died before the Derby, and then 2 of them afterwards. We talked about that, and then in this era, how much that means. And then we talked about the narratives of news, like certain the 6-year-old that died that nobody knows about, Sir Antonio Brown, the cop that died, and then Jordan Neely, and all that, and the narratives that they'll bring. Then we talked about the meatheads. We call it the Meathead Chronicles. The people that destroy their own property to basically to get clicks, and the immaturity of the man.
So yeah, we have a pretty loaded show as we always do in the Pundits Pundit. Well, on the business here at the Sports Exchange, first of all, we're going to talk about Super Bowl 57. And I'll tell you, when you talk about the viewership for this one, this breaks the record that Nielsen released a revised number of 115.1 million of Fox Sports broadcasts of the KC Chiefs 38-35 win over the Philadelphia Eagles in February. The previous record was the 2015 game between New England and Seattle, 114,442 views, not including streaming. So as I talk about this subject, I want to give everybody an overview of what the show is, a couple of NFL topics. We'll talk about some NHL. We'll talk about some NBA, and of course, the sports sound of the week. So with that said, we'll start with JB. All right, pretty impressive number for viewing for the Super Bowl, isn't it?
It's the Super Bowl. I expect nothing less. The fact that there's not 200 million or 300 million doesn't make much sense to me. It's worldwide. I don't know what numbers Nielsen is looking at. Is it just stateside? Are they counting streaming numbers? So to me, listen, I expect 99% of everyone that I know, whether they're a sports fan or not, are watching the Super Bowl. So the Nielsen numbers don't matter to me.
Okay, Jeremy.
I said it before. The Super Bowl will always be the biggest draw. The number one reason is they say it's for the average fan, but the nosebleeds cost $1,500 a piece. That isn't the average fan in the NFL. The average fan in the NFL is guys like me and other guys that like to go to get a $50 seat to see a regular season football game. We can't afford that. It would take a month of salary for the average medium income in America to get that.
Okay, with that said, read Will Vogel's comments.
2 high-powered offenses, 2 good defenses, Philly more so. First time 2 African-American QBs playing in the Super Bowl against each other. Yeah, I mean, that's nice, but you look at what's at the Super Bowl, it's like the who's who of fans. It isn't your average guys. It's all those guys that can afford the season tickets. It's all those guys that can afford to be there. And a lot of them have PSL licenses for that.
Right. It's not even it's not about the football. It's a show. We're watching it for the football. Most people are watching it for the show. You know, the commercials, the halftime show, the pomp and circumstance, the national anthem. You know, all that stuff is why people watch the Super Bowl. You know, for me, if you want to talk about numbers, let's talk about the championship games. What did they get? That's how you can have a true idea of how the NFL's doing. I mean, granted, 115 million or whatever it is, that's phenomenal. But like I said, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just about the NFL. The NFL just puts on the greatest show and party that, you know, happens to air a Sunday in February every year.
Yeah, and I'll go on Will's comments real briefly. These two teams have been the best two teams all year. Thankfully, they met in the Super Bowl, but we'll leave it at that. Okay, Jacob, go ahead.
Well, I'm with JB on this. I don't think it is 113 million. That sounds really low, considering that you get people that aren't sports fans that'll watch for the ads. I mean,
Right.
just right then and there. You got it around the world. I don't think it's just America. I think you got around the world. Just I can see there's 8 billion in this world, in the whole world, like up to 8 billion. I could see it being a billion, hitting a billion as far as overall. Now, to me, Nielsen ratings are so outdated to begin with. But really, overall, though, the Super Bowl, that's what's keeping the terrestrial television alive.
Right.
You know, by itself, without the streaming, without everything, you get it. You're not on. You're for the longest time, at least, we're not going to see a streaming thing going with the Super Bowl unless if it goes with like the CBS streaming or anything like that. You're not going to see that thing. You're still going to see, okay, is it NBC going to get the Super Bowl this year? Is Fox? You're still going to see that. It's not like WrestleMania, which is completely streaming now. This isn't like or just set a pay-per-view. This isn't like that anymore. It's still going to be a network, and those type of things. They'll be with a few, 2, 3, 4 other big shows and big deals. Will be the ones. Those are the ones that are keeping the regular networks alive for that stuff. The minute that a Super Bowl goes streaming, the networks are legitimately gone for good.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about the whole thing, I've covered 4 Super Bowl games, been a part of 7, but the 4 games is what I want to talk about here. You know, you talk about the halftime show. If you're working this game, I use the longer halftime to interact with my colleagues and, you know, drinking a pop and all that. So I have to admit, while I didn't really care about the halftime show, I needed a 20, 25-minute break from the game because there's so much intensity that's going through your mind. You want to talk about the ultimate adrenaline rush. Covering a game in person with so much on the line, knowing that you're part of it, just to be ability to cover an event of that magnitude. You're not thinking about the halftime show and all the drama that goes with it. You're thinking about the fact that what you've done is that from 6 in the morning until 2 in the morning, you're pretty busy from start to finish, and that's a long day, but it's certainly one you always want to reminisce and think about. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to cover 4 games, let alone be a part of 7. So, all right, we'll go on to the next topic because the title of the show is actually the NFL's popularity by the numbers. Okay, but you know what? We're going to go. Candy's got something that we want to talk about. Okay, and that's the telecast ran from 6:45 Eastern time to 10:14 Eastern time, and average 112.2 million viewers on Fox, and an additional 882,000 watched the Spanish broadcast on Fox. Support us, thanks, Candy. All right, so now let's talk about the NFL draft that recently concluded out in Kansas City, and over 54 million fans watched the NFL draft over the days, and a total of 312,000 fans attended the NFL draft in Kansas City. You want to talk about another big party? Here it is, JB Ellis. What do you think about what we saw with the NFL draft? Which, by the way, next year will be in Detroit, and I'm hoping to get to it.
The NFL knows exactly what it's doing. The NFL creates a party atmosphere. The NFL makes sure the fans are involved. You know, everything is all about getting people involved. The Combine, they fill Lucas Oil Stadium with fans. The Super Bowl, they have a week beforehand of festivities. The draft, they have a party that goes on for 3 days. There's concerts. There's everything. And then you talk about on TV, you know, this is why the NFL does so well. And the other sports are not number one because they just don't know how to market. The marketing of the NFL is by far the best marketing in sports. Nothing compares to it.
Very true. All right, Jeremy.
Well, the draft is basically an extension of the Super Bowl because it's just taking all the best college talent and throwing it on all the NFL teams in hopes that the bad teams improve, the medium teams either get a little better, sometimes they reach and get a little worse. And then the top teams usually stay right around where they're at. There's always 4 teams that drop out of the top every year. Who's it going to be this year?
All right. Find out. Jacob?
Well, to bring up what JB was saying, the NFL is phenomenal at the entertainment value, at the marketing. And remember this. Remember this part about it. It's like you saw it this morning, JB, when we were talking about when we were all talking together. We were all talking together. I brought this up to John Shearer. I said Miami is fast becoming a must-see TV. They're fast becoming must-see as far as as far as what their offense is, their entertainment value. And do I get on the Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears fans? Absolutely. But he is must-see TV, entertainment value. He is. 11 losses in a row notwithstanding. You couldn't do that with Trevor Siemian. That's why they're going to have that's why they're going to have the Bears games, even with that part right there. That's the thing is they're all looking for that. And the same thing goes with the draft. Everybody is 17-0 for a moment. Right. When you get to the draft. Oh, we're saved now. We're saved. That's the entertainment value of it all, even if it is meathead fans in certain ways. But when you have that kind of aspect, and then you get a team that becomes very entertaining very fast. Kansas City is, Miami is, any of those type of teams. Philadelphia obviously is. It's not just winning. It isn't just winning. Winning works as far as getting in there, but getting on television, they need to be must-see TV. No one in the NFL, especially in the front offices, wants a boring winner.
Well, let me bring up a couple instances, okay? As you guys know by now, I've covered the draft for the Lions, the Miami Dolphins, and Jacksonville Jaguars at their facilities. Pretty neat when you're able to talk to the coaches and the executives. But I remember a long time ago when ESPN had it, when, they didn't have the fanfare, and as JB said, the marketing is pretty high. I remember watching Chris Berman, Bob Lee, Mel Kiper, and this thing was on for hours and hours and hours, and now it's spread out over 3 days, which is unbelievable. And that's point number one. Now, when you also think about the NFL draft, my first Super Bowl, I had an opportunity to cover the NFL Hall of Fame selection process, and that was a good event. And now that's turned into that old awards thing prior to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, there's no question that the events have changed. One of my favorite events always was going to the commissioner's press conference, because that was really the meat of what we were trying to do, and that's come up with some interesting content. We'll go to another one of Will Vogel's comments very quickly, and then we'll go on to our next topic. All right, Jeremy, read it.
I agree. Marketing in the NFL is best because you've got games in London, Mexico City, Germany, and also has international appeal as well as, of course, United States.
Right. Now, the only thing I'll say against that, Will, is Mexico City's not getting a game this year because the Azteca Stadium is being remodeled. They should be getting another one next year. But yeah, what the point of what Will is saying is there's no question that it's growing internationally, and that's a very positive step for the NFL. So with that said, we're going to go to our sports town of the week, okay? And it focuses on Boston. And get this, when you talk about the history of Boston, you have the Celtics, 17 NBA titles, Boston Bruins, an original 16, and they've had their fair share of titles, the Red Sox and the New England Patriots. Now, recently, the Celtics lost to 76ers last night and trailed their series 3-2. We've talked about the colossal collapse of the Boston Bruins to the Florida Panthers. So, JB, 1 to 10, where do you rank Boston?
Boston's a 10. They do everything. Great baseball stadium. They always seem to put a decent team on the field. Basketball, the Celtics, the winningest team in NBA history. I mean, when you think of the NBA, in my generation, you think Lakers, Celtics right away. That's the first thing you think of as far as two teams playing. Hockey, the Bruins are always a good team. One of the original teams out there. So really when you think Boston, and the fans are so rabid, they love their product. I can't say anything else but a 10.
What about you, Jeremy?
I have to agree. Then you got to throw in the Red Sox and their fans, because they were awful forever, and those fans stayed loyal.
Okay. All right. Jacob?
20. Forget the one at 10. It's 20. They are, and growing up as a Celtics fan, Bird fan, growing up that you see that Boston Garden, you didn't see a seat in that dang place. You didn't see a seat in that dang. You didn't see an empty seat in that dang place in the preseasons when they would play those six times a year. You didn't see anything like that. They are crazy. The Red Sox, all of those teams, and all the heartbreak to the Yankees did not give up. Did not give up whatsoever. And then the Bruins are an original six, and Bobby Orr is forever there. So those, every which way but loose, it's Boston. Boston's I'm going to go 10. That's too low. It's 20.
Well, that's okay. I'll go. Will says 10. I say 10. But I'll tell you what, I have seen a game at the Boston Garden, albeit I tore my ankle skiing on Magic Mountain on Christmas Day, and I was hobbling at the Boston Garden. And you want to talk about the most unbelievable, intimidating place that you can play. Boston Garden ranks up there. And Fenway Park's a bucket list item for me to get to. Larry Bird, what can I say? I compliment this guy all day long. And Bobby Orr, if you're an old-time hockey fan, he definitely epitomizes what he is. But yeah, Boston's a clear-cut 10. We've talked about different sports towns. They win, and their fans are what they are. And their history as a sports town dating back 7,500 years across the board, with the Patriots being the latest of the four, the youngest of the four. It's hard to imagine the Patriots being that, but they are. And they actually originated as the Boston Patriots. So, I guess for the Boston Celtics, they just better hope that they can find a way to come back in this series against the Philadelphia 76ers, or it's going to be a very long summer for two teams that were expected to go pretty deep. So
they will.
Yeah, well, okay. It's a best of 7, and as far as Philadelphia is concerned, it won't go less than 7, and they're hoping to close it in 6. All right, let's go to our NHL topic of the night. The New York Rangers fired head coach Gerard Gallant. He apparently got into a shouting match after the game with GM Chris Drury. So, when I think of Gerard Gallant, I tend to think of Billy Martin, okay? Because, when Billy Martin won, but his tenures were short-lived. But that said, JB, what are your thoughts about the firing of Gerard Gallant with New York Rangers?
Listen, you can't go and yell at the GM if you're a coach. You can't do that. It's simple. Do I agree he should have been fired? Probably not, but you can't go and do that. You gotta try and have some sort of maturity. Yell in private, yell at your friend, and get it off your chest before you do something like that. But not everyone can do things like that.
And it's a shame too, because everywhere he goes, he wins. But the problem is, he's not there very long. So, all right, Jeremy.
Well, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No big deal. We'll go over it again. New York Rangers firing head coach Gerard Gallant, and he apparently got in a shouting match after Game 4 with GM Chris Drury.
Well, you can't get into fight with the GM. What doesn't matter what coach you are. You could be a GM's best friend. You get in a fight where it's heard about and it gets outside of your circle, right. You're gonna be done.
Okay. What about you, Jacob?
This isn't the era. This isn't that era anymore. Gerard Gallant, take a look. He doesn't exactly look young. He's from an era where they probably did that. They had more power. Coaches used to have that power. Remember, we have Bob Knight, who basically ran over every Indiana president there ever was in life, and even ran over Miles Brand a little bit until the whole situation. He got his way. Coaches don't get that anymore. They don't get that kind of power. You got to realize Ime Udoka over in Boston. Ime Udoka, he basically got to a final. He gets to the finals. He gets that. That was it. He is the man. He's getting ready for the next year, and basically in what they call the inappropriate relationship, which was basically consensual between two people, lost it. And that was just on it. Could you imagine if it wasn't consensual? What would have happened? He wouldn't be having his chance in Houston now. That's the thing. Coaches don't have the same power anymore. So you can't be yelling at the GM. Gerard Gallant by itself. In truth, he's won everywhere he's gone, but at his age and with everything you see, he's probably it for him.
Okay.
They don't want to deal with that distraction anymore.
I should point out that the audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com or participate in the chat room. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, and I repeat, cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Well, the only thing I'll say about Gerard Gallant is he's won everywhere he's gone. And, there's going to be a team that, the general manager will give him a little bit, cut him a little bit more slack. And I wouldn't be surprised if he lands very quickly. And a place I've heard him possibly go will be the Calgary Flames. When you're an organization like that and you're struggling to win year in and year out, somehow, some way, I do believe that Gerard Gallant's got to land somewhere in a much more, who knows? He could end up in Canada or some team desperate to win and win badly, despite the fact that he does bring a little bit of baggage to the table. But I will say that he's this year's Century's version of Billy Martin. You win, you deal with a lot early. Unfortunately, you have to let him go. Final topic of the night before we go to parting shots. Also following the Sports Exchange, we have Confidential. I'll be there with Jacob Christner, JB Ellis. So looking forward to joining that show after we get done here on the Sports Exchange. Now, the Miami Heat are 14-0 when leading a series 3-1. The Knicks are 0-14 when trailing a series 3-1. JB Ellis, what gives?
So Miami's going to win the series. The Knicks are still, although they had another year, which is great for the Knicks, are still rebuilding. This isn't a big deal. I mean, I would have liked to see them win their home games, which is what you need to do with the NBA. And of course, they would have won the series 4-3 had that been the case. But they're still rebuilding that team. They're in a much better shape than they were a few years ago. They have a nice core of guys there. They made some good moves. Listen, they're going to lose the series. Miami, more power to them. They weren't a 7th seed to begin the playoffs. They had injuries throughout the year and they didn't play well. But Miami's a really good team. I wouldn't hold my head down if I'm the Knicks. I think that they have something special that they're trying to build, which it's been years since they've had. I see good things in the future for them. Miami is losing tonight, so the Knicks are blowing them out tonight. So there'll be a game 6 in Miami, which will end the series.
I mean, I can tell you, Eric Spoelstra is the most underrated coach in basketball, and Jimmy Butler's a guy I'd love to have on my team all day long. All right, Jeremy.
Oh, I fully expect that Miami will win the series because in all actuality, that is a built team that keeps plugging in a player here and there to keep them relevant. Whereas the Knicks, they are still 1 or 2 pieces away. I think they're 1 player off the bench and 1 in the starting rotation away from being that powerhouse that they want to be. Yes, they had a better year, but they're still missing something.
Okay. Denzel Snipes, update. New York 84, Miami 74 in the fourth quarter. So thank you very much for the update. All right, Jacob, what's your take on the Miami Heat?
Denzel stole my thunder. I was about to say that. But no, here's the thing about the NBA. It's like the New York's going to lose this series. Miami's just too good. But every time there is a powerhouse NBA or it's coming around, it is Chicago being good, New York being good, Boston being good, Philadelphia being good.
Well, don't forget Detroit either.
Detroit, yeah. Well, let's see Detroit. I can't wait till Detroit gets there too. So that really, you know what I'm saying? I can't wait till they finally figure it out with Detroit because they need it too. That the city needs it more than anything. But I'm just talking. I'm bringing up just the names that we've known in our past. All of those, Los Angeles being good. We'll say Detroit, but Los Angeles being good. Those names. It's like, guess what? It's not, I mean, as much as we love Popovich, it's not San Antonio. It's not Toronto. It's like, that's not a strong NBA. That's just, they're there. But those names, Detroit's the same. All of those, you need a powerhouse. New York's going to lose this series, but they need to stay good because the NBA, it's big for the NBA. Because New York fans are just like what we were talking about with Boston fans. They get riled. And they come to these games and they want the Knicks to be good.
Well, I just hope that James Dolan isn't dumb enough to let Tom Thibodeau go because I think he's the best thing they've had in New York in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think Tom Thibodeau has a great track record winning everywhere, and he's one of those guys that actually believes in defense, and 99% of the league doesn't believe in defense. So James Dolan, leave Tom Thibodeau alone. The Knicks will be fine, and you actually have something worth selling for a change. Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau can actually make James Dolan look good, so don't screw it up. All right. Well, we do have time for parting shots. Everything is rolling along really smoothly here. With that said, JB Ellis, go for it.
So if you look on the Sideline Sports Instagram today, if you saw my Twitter last night, watching the Lakers game, the Lakers are the island of misfit toys. You have LeBron James, who's just the greatest 38-year-old basketball player in the world, and probably ever. You have Anthony Davis, who is one of the top 5 players in the world, who's a second away from getting the weirdest injury you've ever seen, and a bunch of guys that aren't the right fit for that team to make them win. With those 2 guys in the starting lineup, they are not a 7 seed. The fact that they got a 7 seed is disgusting when you have one of the top 5 players and the best 38-year-olds who would probably be top 15 and still an all-star if he was 24, 25 years old. So, to me, I watched the Laker game the other night against the Warriors, and that doesn't mean that they're a bad team, because a lot of people said, what do you don't think the Lakers are good? No, I don't think that they're bad. They beat the Warriors the other night. Both teams were awful, but it's the land of misfit toys. It's that island. Get the right guys around LeBron and AD, and you're a 1 or 2 seed easy, and you're winning championships year after year. So they got to figure that situation out, because you got maybe 1 or 2 years left to LeBron before he's gone, and he's still playing at a high enough level that he'd be an all-star at 24 years old, and he's doing this at 38.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Butch Davis. We appreciate it. I should also point out that when we talk about LeBron James, that his son, Ronnie, committed to USC. So I don't know why I have a weird feeling about this, but Ronnie will play there probably 1 or 2 years, right until LeBron's contract is up. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see LeBron James pull the Gordie Howe trick, join his son wherever it may be. It seems like it has that feel to it. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
I don't really have a parting shot tonight. I mean, I don't know.
That's okay. No problem. All right, go ahead, Jacob.
All right. Fans, this is another fan thing. This isn't on the Bears. This is by itself. I brought this up with, when it came to destroying your property and all that stuff, but there's another issue you have. There's a problem with an immaturity that you think you can do what you can't. There's an issue that I saw. There was the guy that said he was on, and I'll say the name, Clay Harbor, said he was 6'4", 250. You guys met. I think you guys met him at
we interviewed him. I interviewed him on Radio Row.
He said he's 6'4", 250. He said he could beat up he said on there he could beat a 130-pound professional fighter. He said, and it's like that's fan talk. They're professional for a reason. And this is the issue I have with this issue I have. I mean, it's destroying your stuff and everything, but this is what I was talking about, that we are in trouble as men. It's like you're immature. You don't understand what you're talking about. I have been in a ring before. I lost both fights. I know what that is like. It is not as easy as you think. It is like it takes a mind to get in. It takes a mindset to get in there. And it's like, we got to quit saying things like LeBron James can beat up Mike Tyson, that you can beat this guy. I did this before as a kid with a tennis player once. I did this as someone about 10 years ago. Didn't even know what I was saying. And it's like I learned really, really fast, though, in a tournament I did. I learned really fast in a much lower tournament. And you learn fast that, guess what? Professionals, they're playing the guy who plays professionals. It's a different level. And people that are online and they're on Twitter all the time and blab it off, they don't know what they're talking about. And it's time they started learning.
Okay. Well said. All right. Well, I actually have 2, but kind of 1.5. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. First of all, today, the news came where Mike Krzyzewski's now been named has gone to the NBA in an executive consultant role to try to help assist the league out. The NBA is going to need a whole lot more than Mike Krzyzewski because the biggest problem they have is load management. I don't care if you refine the collective bargaining agreement to take up personal awards or any of that. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, I didn't think Mike Krzyzewski was totally tired. He's had past dealings with NBA players. Why not go ahead and be a part of that league now, see what you can do to help it? But the NBA has a lot of problems, and until they're able to take the drama out of what's going on, no Mike Krzyzewski is going to be able to save face for a league that right now has a lot of regrouping to do. But it doesn't hurt to have a Hall of Fame legendary ear to go out there and provide a suggestion or two anyhow. Now, the next comment I have is very close to me. So listen very closely. And I'm taking a deep breath over this one. 50
Oh, boy.
years. Yeah, no. Well, I am. Okay, Jeremy. 50 years ago tomorrow, my grandpa, Sidney Morgenroth, died of lung cancer. 50 years, and I only knew him when I was 10 years old. That stinks. I mean, when I have always had an opportunity to hammer smoking cigarettes, and JB, whatever you do, or whoever smokers, it's not designed to single anybody out. I just want to point that out.
Of course not. Of course we know that.
But this is, of all the losses that I've had in my life, my grandpa Sidney Morgenroth to me is the biggest of them all. And I mean the biggest. Died at the age of 55. And unfortunately, I wish we had digital phones. I probably would have gotten a few photos with the guy. But 10 years of age, and maybe one of these days I'll see if my dad has any. I don't know. I haven't looked at pictures in who knows how long. But, Grandpa Sid, I miss you very much. But the legacy that he left with me were a couple things. That year when I played ball, my team, the Wildcats, went 21-0 and won the city championship. And we played that season for my grandpa Sidney, and it was unbelievable. And my dad happened to be the manager of the team. Unbelievable. Now, the biggest lesson that my grandfather taught me, although I don't know if he ever knew he taught me, but he did, is I never took on the habit of smoking. Never took on the habit of smoking. When that habit killed my grandfather, okay, if that isn't the hardest lesson that you could ever learn, tell me if there's another harder one. I don't know. I think of all the fact that all the times I missed with my grandfather because of this despicable disease, cancer. And I had to deal with it at a younger age, losing him. My dad, what he did when my grandfather died is he took his pack of cigarettes and flushed it down the toilet. And you talk about quitting cold turkey. Yeah, he did. So what I want to do tonight, okay, in front of three of my closest people, is I want to dedicate this sports exchange to my grandpa, Sidney Morgenroth. I know you rested in peace for 50 years. My grandmother's there, and we have an awful big group over at Clover Hill Park Cemetery in Birmingham, Michigan. No, not Birmingham, Alabama. I don't think we made it down there, but it shows you where Birmingham is anyways. It's all over the place. But Grandpa, I love you. I hope you're watching these shows from heaven with the rest of our family, my Grandma Sophie, my Aunt Judy, and a bunch of grandmothers. Of course, my mother's buried there too, Mom. And she dealt with COPD. So anytime you're dealing with cancer and smoking, that will always be a sensitive topic with me, because when you lose somebody that you barely were getting to know, it's way too early. It stings. I don't care if I'm 60 years old. Losing him when I was 10 stings, and I've had to deal with it. But when you think about 50 years without your grandfather, I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, that when you see a post on Facebook tomorrow about me mentioning 50 years without my grandfather, I will definitely mention that I never started smoking, because it's iconic, unbelievable man that I never really had an opportunity to get to know, but I was proud of the 10 years that we did experience together. So That's why I led with the NBA a little bit, and I wanted to dedicate tonight's edition of the Sports Exchange to my grandpa, Sidney Morgenroth. Grandpa, I love you. I miss you very much. And one day I'll see you, although not at Clover Hill. I already have my funeral arrangements in Milwaukee, so I'll have to take the I'll have to take this guy from I-94 over to Birmingham, Michigan. And he's taking a dirt nap and I get a concrete nap. So I may have a little different resting period, but what can I tell you? It's just something that I really felt in my mind that I really feel to me I wanted to bring out. And I'm glad that you guys were understanding of the fact that when I say 1.5, the Krzyzewski thing was half, and my grandpa Sidney Morgenroth was a 1. And Denzel, I can't thank you very much for the kind words that you put in the chat, because you know what? This is just something that, we don't bring enough of this stuff up. And it's important to go out there and make sure that we're not afraid to talk about our pain at all. We really are not afraid, because our pain sometimes really, in my opinion, Mountain Dew or not, can be our gain, although I don't find anything gained about this. It really, really is difficult. But I'm just so happy to be surrounded by a lot of great people that my grandpa Sidney would be proud that I'm associated with, both here at Sideline Sports and, of course, my wife, Candy Ebling, here through the South Florida Tribune, as well as being my soulmate. So those are my closing thoughts tonight. And I'm going to let JB Ellis, we have Confidential. We're actually making pretty good time tonight to get over there. So, JB, do all the talk about things. And I do want to mention something real quick. JB Ellis and I will be starting in the next few weeks or so a show called The Celebrity and the Journalist. And, JB, that's going to be a whole lot of fun, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. This is a boxing match on the air waiting to happen. So, we'll just see whether old is better than young, although I don't know. What are we, 20 years apart? That doesn't matter. And the interesting part about that entire show is, my brother from another mother here and I are going to go at it in a lot of different ways. But we'll release more details as time goes on. JB Ellis, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
So JB_ the program on Twitter, Sideline Sport 1 on Twitter. Me and Scott did some great interviews the last couple of days with Star Boxing. They have an event coming up on May 13th in Huntington, New York, or watch it on starboxing.tv. It was a very interesting to get to know the Starboxing people. I hope to work with them more, me and Scott. Confidential on in a couple of minutes. Sideline Sports is joining the NFL Alumni Network, so we're going to be on there as well. A lot of stuff going on at Sideline Sports, the South Florida Tribune. If you're not paying attention, you're missing out. So make sure you subscribe to both the South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports. Don't wait, do it now.
Great job, JB. All right, Smoking. I know you have something to say about this, right?
Yeah. All right. You can find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading, where you will find me with a list of authors, such as the guy right above me, Scott Morgenroth. That Motor City madmouth guy whose mouth goes faster usually than his brain. Then you can also find me on the South Florida Tribune channel on YouTube.
I got you. I'm waiting for the hat to go off next. It's your turn to flip the cap. Go ahead.
And you can also find me on Kneecap Biting with Smoke and Jeremy B, where I do 2 shows during the off season. My Wednesday, with every other Wednesday show, which is an NFL roundtable talk, and then every Friday with the Lions Fan Cave chat, where we talk. Not only do I talk, but I talk with fans, and I have them on the show, and I interact with my fans live in the chat. And I am also presented by Sideline Sports as well, and occasionally I'm on the gauntlet with this guy that's to my right on here, Jacob Christner.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll be making occasional appearances on there, according to Denzel. So, but go ahead, Jacob. Don't want to steal your thunder.
All right. I am now on Substack. Going to be writing my first thing real soon. Jake the Pundit. I am now on Patreon, Jake the Pundit. I am going to be adding my stuff on there very soon. Sunday nights, the Sunday nights Basket Bros. Monday nights Pundit Views, which I've had a couple of nice interviews lately, so it keeps building up. Tuesdays off, Wednesday nights, these 3 shows, third one Confidential coming up, and I had the Pundit's Pundit. Thursday nights, we're working. I had TJ Sanson, my original from to Yin and Yang on Monday night, so we had a great interview there. So Yin and Yang usually be Thursdays. When I'm called, I'd be off the bench. I am on Gauntlet on Fridays, and then I'm actually working on scripts and got a couple movies in the line, so working on it.
All right. Well, you know what? I got a pretty interesting comment in the chat room. When is sports betting coming back to Florida? I don't know. Stay tuned. I can tell you though, Tommy, we do have a guy that does sports betting that you can see him on Monday nights a couple times a month, and during the NFL season, he'll be on every week. So thanks a lot, Tommy, for asking. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that one. Otherwise, we'd be more than happy to give it to you. So with that said, okay, that leaves me. So I should point out again, the audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube's South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com or participate in the chat room. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call myself at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. As far as my wife, Candy Ebling, is concerned, kudos to her. She does a marvelous job going out there, putting everything together. And you know what? You want to talk about an MVP? You're welcome, Tommy Trotter. Candy Ebling to me is an MVP. She puts together the website, comes on shows when she has to. And without her, we would really be in trouble. And also check out our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, and you can see the behind-the-scenes woman as well. I am proud of the relationship I have with Sideline Sports. It's fun coming on Basket Bros, Pundits Spun It, Confidential, and maybe every now and then the Gauntlet if it doesn't interfere with date night. Yes, I do have one once in a while. Okay. So, everything that we do here, and JB and I have a lot more things that we're planning on working on. So I hope everybody enjoys the partnership as well that we have with Sideline Sports. And we have a lot of things that we're looking forward to in the hopper. We've gotten a lot done, but we have a whole lot more to do. And I'll tell you one thing on this show, I never go out there and leave any stone unturned. Tommy, I'm glad you've been watching the gambling show. I have a feeling that with our buddy John Ryan, he's certainly going to be somebody worth watching. Right, Jeremy? Give Tommy Trotters a little bit about what he's looking for when he gets John Ryan.
John Ryan is an excellent sports handicapper. He does a really good job of explaining it plainly and clearly. He's not going to promise you the moon, but he is about 60 to 70% right. I believe that's what he said. Anybody that says they're 80% right is lying.
So that
was his words.
Yeah, that's how realistic John is.
100% right.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really legitimate guy, and I met him on Twitter. So with that said, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Sports Exchange. Pundit preceded us. Confidential will follow us. So on behalf of JB Ellis, Smoking Jeremy B., okay, and Jacob Christner, the pundit, okay, who are giving me some nice signals that we are time to wrap it up, which we will. We want to thank you very much for joining us. We are out, and we will catch you the next time. Good night, everybody.